If you're the owner and operator of a small business, you're already facing a myriad of challenges. But what if in the middle of everything that you're juggling, you're also allowing things to slip through the cracks? What if you're overlooking a couple of basic concepts that could really transform the way you look at your business and put you on a much better trajectory for success? Hi there, I'm Mark from Valor XL. Thank you so much for joining me. If you are the owner of a small business, you have so many things vying for your attention. And somewhere in that vast mix, you might be overlooking one of the most crucial components for success. And I'm talking about developing proper organizational structure. That sounds really boring and academic, but it's critically important because it's something that won't just organically happen. You have to be intentional about making it happen. In the year 2018, data was compiled that suggested that on the average, only about 1 in 3 new small businesses will last for a decade or more. That's a really sobering statistic. And the truth is, if you don't have everything calibrated properly in your small business, it will eventually catch up with you. The lack of a proper organizational structure can sometimes be absorbed a little bit better in a larger company, even a corporation, because there's so much more money and so much more staff. But in a small business, it becomes a lot more apparent. It will create a resource drain and eventually an extremely negative office culture. What it really boils down to is you need to figure out 2 different things: how to manage time and how to manage people. In regard to time, in the 1950s, a British mathematician named Cyril Northcote Parkinson said this: "Work expands so as to fill the available time for its completion." It's what's referred to as Parkinsons Law. It sounds a little bit like procrastination, but it's slightly different. It's the basic concept of this. If you tell an employee you have 3 hours to get this job done, they'll probably take 3 hours to get the job done. It's human nature. And it's not even a negative reflection on the staff member. It's the simple fact that they've been told, I have this much time. But what we sometimes forget is that the more someone performs a task repetitively until it becomes a routine, they become more adept at it. It might take someone 3 hours to do that today, but if they do it every day for 6 months, 6 months from now, it may only take them an hour. And something that goes hand in hand with this is what's called planning fallacy. That's the scenario where we get a little overly optimistic about how long we think it should take to do something. And usually we end up grossly underestimating how long something will take. It leads to the classic negative scenario of overpromising and underdelivering. And of course, our goal should always be the inverse, to underpromise and overdeliver so that we're bringing added value to our clients or customers. A few years ago, I was leaving a grocery store. I'd already put my groceries in the car, and I was returning my empty cart to the cart corral, when lo and behold, this is what I saw. It made such an impression on me that I had to take that picture. Now, I'm somebody who loves structure, so this really grated on my nerves. And it's obvious why things look that way. One simple answer: careless shoppers. It was people who were done with their carts. They didn't care. They just wanted to get out of there and go home. And the sad thing is, the cart corral is set up specifically with a lane for small carts and a lane for large carts. But I get the impression that some of those shoppers didn't even go the whole way to the lane. I think they got within 5 feet of the cart corral, gave the cart a shove, and hoped it reached it. Now, that's a terrible way to do things. And they had complete disregard for how their actions might impact other shoppers or store employees. Because multiple times during the day, somebody has to sort that mess out, interlocking all of the correct size carts together and taking them back to the store. So that wasted time is time that could have been spent helping another customer or a store employee. It led me to create what I call the parable of the shopping carts. I realized as I looked at this haphazard jumble that you can actually draw some conclusions from this about how to properly structure your organization. So here's what I learned from these shopping carts. First of all, If we don't understand how one component influences another, people will work at a bare minimum of effort. If we perform job functions just by routine and we don't have a clear understanding of how those functions affect other staff or other processes, we create unintentional complications. If job functions are performed without a structured, sequential process, it can cause overall efficiency of our services to suffer. And inefficient processes will always negatively impact staff and clients. For me, the most important takeaway from that is the idea of not appreciating how your actions or inactions will impact everybody else. In a business setting, that sometimes materializes as what's called siloing, where an individual or maybe even an entire business unit will become so ultra-focused on what they're doing that they disregard everybody else, and they don't even take the time to investigate to see how their job function intersects with all else that is going on throughout the organization. So from what we've talked about today, I have 3 lessons learned that I'd like to share with you. The first one is this: be intentional about time. Just remember, you can't control time, but you can manage time. If you don't manage time, time will manage you. So find a happy medium between Parkinson's Law and planning fallacy. Figure out a realistic expectation for how long it should take people to accomplish job tasks. And always make sure that you have the correct amount of people allocated to get something done. Number 2, properly identify roles and responsibilities. The perfect antidote for that silo mentality is collaboration. And the only way that you'll ever foster collaboration is by helping everybody on your team to have a clear understanding of what is expected from them. When everybody understands what they're supposed to do and what everybody else is supposed to do, they'll start to be a little bit more conscientious about how their job function intertwines with the rest of the organization. And always remember, when you're developing job processes, to take into account the simple truth that people make mistakes. It's inevitable. And it's okay for a team member to make a mistake, but the business should never make a mistake. So structure your processes so that you always have multiple sets of eyes on what's being done. That way, when a mistake does occur, somebody else will be there to catch it and to correct it. And number 3, document all processes. Don't just rely on the people on your team. Rely on the knowledge that they possess. Because if you're only relying on the people, you're actually putting the structural integrity of your organization at risk. You need to be able to fully and completely document all of the functions in your business. And when you do that, never take for granted the fact that there are probably things happening behind the scenes which are completely invisible to you. In almost any job function, employees will gradually take on more responsibilities because they recognize additional things need to be done to complete the job. It's probably things that aren't even in their job description, and unless you ask specific questions, you'll never know they exist. If you take the time to really invest in developing a proper organizational structure, it will do so much good for the longevity of your organization. But how do you know if you're really on a solid footing? If you click on the link in the description below, you can download a free PDF called Taking Your Organization's Temperature. It consists of 30 statements about the health of your business. Go through, rate how each one applies to you. There's a corresponding numeric value. Tally them up, and that total will tell you whether or not the approach you're taking in your small business is inactive, reactive, or proactive. If this was helpful for you, please give this video a like, and in the comments below, please let me know what are the challenges you're facing in structuring your small business. Please be sure to subscribe to this channel. We have more great content coming in the days ahead, specifically tailored for small businesses and nonprofits. I'd like to thank you again for joining me. Please come back again. Until next time, remember, at Valor XL, we're committed to helping you do smart work. Goodbye for now.